Working for Centric since about 10 years. I'm placed in Holland, and I'm basically a software architect and helping our product managers to take their legacy applications, their old ERP systems that are sometimes 10, 20 years old, and giving it a second life cycle. And with that, we're actually adding some mobile applications to it so that they have a more modern look and feel. And then I have Silvio here. He works for Centric here in Yash for a year, and he's a domain expert in Central Touch and developing mobile applications. What does it actually mean if you, I guess most of you are going to be some desktop developers, so what does it actually mean to take a desktop application into the mobile world? You cannot, you have different screen sizes, you have different devices, so you cannot just take the whole ERP, but that's what usually happens when my product manager comes to me and says, hey, I have that big ERP and please make it mobile. That doesn't work. There's a couple of things you need to think about. There's 3 points I want to talk about, and that's why should you do it? That's because there's a lot of the big growth, it's a big opportunity. What do you need to think about? There are some constraints when you do develop mobile applications, and what's actually new to it, what's things that you can use that you do not have on a desktop internet. If you look at the growth, that's back in 1990, there's 100 million PCs. 10 years later, there's about 1 billion desktop internet PCs. And Morgan Stanley says in about 7 years from now, we have 10 billion mobile consumers. So far more than we have today on desktop PCs. So there's a big growth, so that's an opportunity for all of us. Just 6, 7 years ago, there was a brand modern mobile phone with a nice browser that you were not able to touch it. If you wanted to type a URL, you had to do it through the numbers. So not really usable. And then 1 year later, rest in peace, but he actually changed the world of the mobile devices that we have today. And that's what we're going to look at in more detail. If we look at the constraints, we have a different screen size. We need to look at performance and at the usability. So what's different to desktop applications? And some of it is really an opportunity if you think about it more close. Screen size. The mobile device, okay, we have different sizes. We have an iPad form factor, we have an iPhone form factor. And that needs you to think about what actually the user wants if he is on a mobile device. He doesn't want the whole application, he just wants parts of it. And this is also something good for you because you can limit the scope on an app and deliver it very quickly. That's going to make you and your boss and your customers happy. We brought an example from Lufthansa. If you look at the Lufthansa webpage, you actually see there's a lot of things on there. You can book special offers, you can look at the refunds, constraints and whatsoever. That's most of it you actually do not need if you're on a mobile device. So what Lufthansa did, if you're using an iPad, they actually reduced already the functionality, just limiting on the function that you need when you're at the airport. If you're using a smartphone device, they limited it actually more. And that's something that you need to, that should give you the example actually what you need to think about, how to get from a desktop layout to a mobile layout. The next thing is the performance. It's performance in 2 ways basically. It's the device performance, so we do not have an i7 something. We do not have a big graphic card. And we have limited bandwidth. So you need to think about reducing the round trips to the server because that's bandwidth usage. You should not do a lot of calculation on the device. And everything that you transfer, you should make it as small as possible. So files should be reduced to the minimum size. And that's because, all for one reason, and we have forgotten that actually, because our desktop internet is so fast now, especially here sometimes, it's far faster than I have it in Switzerland or in Holland. It's impressive. But that makes you forget that the user maybe is happy to wait for 3 seconds, he maybe waits for 5 seconds, but if he waits for 10 seconds, he pushes the home button and he might never come back. Usability, if you're running an application or an app on a mobile device, you need to be safe with your resources that you use. It's because if the battery runs out, he's not able to use it anymore, so reduce that. You need to think about in the occasions where he's using it. So there might be a lot of light, so you need to think about brightness, contrast, and so ever. And also, he doesn't have a mouse, so it's more natural to use your finger, but you also need more space for it. So that's what you need to think about. And then the capabilities, one of them are the touch enabled, so you can touch, you can pinch, you can multi-gesture, whatsoever. That's something nice, because that's something new you can use. It makes fun to develop for it. You also can use the GPS functionality and the possibility that you move the device, so you can use that as well as a control mechanism. And that brings us to the natural user interface. So the difference now is, compared to your desktop application, you should wipe everything that you actually don't need. So get rid of buttons, use the content actually as the key to your functionality. Make it sure that the user interface is predictable, that the user directly knows what he's able to do and what he should do with the functionality. And take advantage of all those things, and I think the most important advantage actually is limit your scope, produce something quite quick, and give it to the market. That's a nice thing. But there's one thing, and that's the change of how the users are today, and you need to think about how the users are going to be tomorrow. So for example, like Silvio in Germany, when he was born in 1988, he will not remember that there were a telephone with a cable. We didn't have that. And another example is my son. He's 5 years old, and he uses his mom's iPad for looking videos and playing games. And sometimes he needs his parents to type in a URL because he sees that in an advertisement. And a couple of months ago, I came home with my brand new MacBook Pro, a Retina display, big memory or whatsoever. And he looked at me and said, "Dad, why are you buying an old computer?" I said, "Old computer? It has a keyboard." So that's the user you have to supply software for tomorrow. So keep that in mind. And now I would like to hand over to Silvio to actually talk about the Essential Touch framework.